Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? And when we're done, I would ask that everybody remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in memory of Ed Centofanti. Ed was a longtime resident. He moved into the town of Patterson in 1971. Joined the Patterson Fire Department in 1972, where he served continuously till his recent passing a few days ago. He was a member of the fire police. He was about 98 years old, I believe, and again, until recently, was still going out on fire calls with the fire police. He was just an amazing young man. He served in the Pacific Theater in the U.S. Navy, World War II veteran. So if I could just have a moment of silence. Thank you. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. Peck? Ms. Davis? Ms. Smith?
Here.
Supervisor Williams?
Here. Counselor, would you like to read the notice?
Notice is hereby giving of a public hearing at 7:00 p.m. on May 24th, 2023 at the Patterson Town Hall, 1142 Route 311, Patterson, New York, 12563, at which time all persons interested shall be heard regarding the establishment of a drainage district in the town of Patterson that would serve the Ice Pond Estates subdivision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, as Jamie said, we are looking to create a drainage district for a 24-lot subdivision on Ice Pond Road, so that the new property owners, if this subdivision ever gets built, because it's been going on for about 20 years now, I think, long time. That the drainage improvements and the maintenance thereof are going to be the responsibility of the homeowners and not the overall taxpayers of the town of Patterson. So with that, I would ask that anybody has any questions, or if you have any comments concerning this petition for a drainage district, if you would approach the mic and provide your name and address, ask your question or make your comment.
Hi, Stacy Dumont, 368 Bullet Hole. I just have a question about what a drainage district is.
Okay, a drainage district is a taxable district whereby the property owners within that district that are benefited from a specific improvement are charged the cost of that improvement. Nope, there's no more follow-ups.
And so what is the structural, like the infrastructure of a drainage district?
So it's an administrative entity within the town of Patterson. We have a number of different drainage districts. And what Ice Pond subdivision is going to do is they are going to create a series of course, catch basins and pipes that are going to collect all the drainage coming off of the new subdivision roads and move it over to some stormwater ponds that are going to need periodic maintenance. And so what this does is it allows, and the town's going to be responsible for doing that. And there's a cost for doing that. So the town is going to go into these stormwater ponds and catch basins and clean them all out. And we are going to be essentially imposing a tax within the property owners, which are going to cover the cost of that. The estimated tax is about $250 a year right now within the report that we received. But I will tell you this, we have, 3 or 4 other drainage districts, and it really isn't costing anywhere near that. So for the other drainage districts, we've been able to reduce the cost as it goes forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Liam Fistos. I'm at 410 Ice Pond.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Liam Fistos.
Thank you.
Fistos. I had a question. Originally, I think the plan was for 25 lots. Is it now for 24? Has that changed?
No, it actually may be for 25 residential units.
Okay, all right.
It's been a while since I've seen the plan.
Yeah, and I know it was up for sale recently. Do you know if it's new owners or is it the same owners?
I do know
Right.
as of right now, the town is still dealing with the original owners.
Okay, cool. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, Dimitri Pappas, 222 Ice Pond Road. How will the drainage district impact wells and water quality in the area?
It should not impact wells or water quality in the area at all. Especially since, you know, again, we're creating this system, which is now required under New York State's MS4 program that is going to treat the stormwater coming off of the infrastructure. They're building the roads, and remove the pollutants. So, and those ponds are actually going to infiltrate a lot of that water back into the ground, you know, and act as a purifier. So shouldn't be any impact at all.
Okay.
Good evening, Jürgen Temple, 252 Ice Pond Road. Just a couple of questions now that I have more background information. There are already natural streams around the area that are flowing down towards the ice pond. Will these streams be leveraged as part of the drainage system? Also, the whole site is along, unfortunately, a heavy, reckless garbage dumping area. Will the garbage dumping be addressed along with creating these drainage systems? And will there be some monitoring, maybe via video cameras, that there is no garbage dumping and the waters stay clean?
So the streams will not be impacted at all. They've maintained a 100-foot buffer away from all the streams, and, you know, there's not going to be any tree clearing anywhere near the streams. As far as the garbage dumping, the subdivision itself does not address anything to do with the garbage dumping out there. But one of the reasons you have a problem, you know, with people dumping garbage along Ice Pond Road is that it's a very rural area. Development out there is very sparse. You've got a lot of distance between your neighbors and a lot of open land still out there. The upside of this is the residential subdivision with more people out there. You're going to have more eyes. So the likelihood of people dumping out there is going to decrease. The downside, of course, is you lose the forested areas.
Just one more follow-up question. What about the already developed stretches of Ice Pond Road? Because even their drainage is sometimes very poor, and especially in the winter, water can collect from the sides of the road and stand in people's driveway and freeze over. Are there any plans to include already developed areas into that drainage system?
No, there are not. There are, with the original subdivision plans, road improvements, the developer is going to have to construct on Ice Pond to widen it out, put a better base down. But they're not really going to be collecting any of the stormwater runoff from Ice Pond Road any more than currently what is going on.
But the follow-up to that, also what he's asking is if there are drainage issues on Ice Pond in other areas of the road, that's a great conversation to have with our highway department, because there may be improvements that can be planned for the future. I think that's separate from the subdivision, obviously, and separate from this drainage district.
Okay, I can reach out to Russ on that issue.
Hello, Bob Dumont, 368 Bullet Hole Road. I know that, as you know, this project is going on a long time. this district being formed as a result of something new happening? Or is it just the time, this is the time it would be proposed?
Well, as you said, this project has been going on for a long time. I think the planning board and others are getting tired of the fact that it's been going on for a long time and have started to indicate that they might. So the way the process works, right? So an approval is good for a limited period of time. And they are constantly coming back in and, getting an extension in which to meet certain conditions and requirements. And I think the planning board said pretty much enough is enough. If you're gonna build it, and if not, let's move on.
Okay.
Which is one of the things that's prompted this. And I know from the town board's point of view, one of the things we have to do is create this drainage district. And I don't have all the information right now. So we're doing a public hearing. We're taking steps towards that goal of finishing this up.
Okay,
But we're gonna have to stop right here until they get other things done.
okay,
But the bottom line in this is they've got to either build it or they've got to,
Right.
stop, because we're not going to keep extending it. And that's what's really precipitated this public hearing tonight.
okay. And is there any change in the configuration that might, is there any map of where these ponds might be or any kind of other?
Oh, sure.
information? There is-
Sure.
It is available?
The subdivision plat shows in the associated construction drawings, show all the infrastructure, including the ponds and how they're going to be built and accessed.
Okay,
If you really want to take a look at that, you certainly can foil it from the planning department. They can
Okay.
send it over to you.
is it too late now to do that since we're having the public hearing, or is
To
that
look-
something? I
Well, so that is part of the subdivision review process. We're just creating this administrative,
could- District,
district.
okay,
That's, and yes, that ship is pretty much sailed at this point
Okay.
because they've got a conditional approval based on their layout. And the
okay,
conditions include posting the bond, paying the fees, getting the drainage district. Couple of other things, and they're very close to having everything done at this point.
okay. And so with the drainage district, as mentioned, if there are, for example, as part of Ice Pond always washes away, if that new entrance is along that portion that always washes away, does that figure into the drainage district at all, or how is that going? Because it would be exacerbated, I guess, if you start now to have all this, you have a 24-foot roadway coming out of there, or an area that always washes away. Now you're gonna have a lot of,
So the meets and bounds, the actual property that's included in this drainage district are basically the 25 residential homes
okay,
and the property they're on.
okay,
Doesn't include the stormwater ponds, doesn't include the wetlands, doesn't include the road.
okay. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Hey there, Tamara, Trip 222 Ice Pond. I'm just curious what the timeline is. You're having this comment period right now. I assume you're gonna then approve this. What's the timeline and what's the next steps that are gonna happen after you approve this administrative
So
situation?
the next step is for them to actually file the subdivision plat and give us the actual meets and bounds. We see it on the plan, we know where it is. But we need a written description, so they have to do that, and they have to file the subdivision plat. Because that all has to go into the paperwork that we have to file. So that's up to them. I think they paid most of their fees. I'm not exactly sure what's outstanding, but I do know that there's not much outstanding they have to do to get that subdivision plat filed.
Mhm. And will you hold additional comment periods, or is it's all a done deal after that? I mean, they essentially got this approved
You got it approved.
10+ years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a long
Right.
time ago, yeah.
Right, I know.
Yeah. So the subdivision itself and the whole design of that subdivision and all the improvements going with that. Yes, that was approved by the planning board many years ago.
What's the total? I know it's a different situation, but what is the total acreage that they are planning to develop?
I don't know off the top of my head. And it was a little complicated because they were working with the Putnam Land Trust. So they had a piece of land, the Putnam Land Trust had a couple of pieces of land. They basically put it all together broke it apart differently, and the Putnam Land Trust is gonna end up with a big piece of land overlooking ice pond, the whole bluff that goes over the top. Yeah,
I actually sat on the land trust board and was part of some of those discussions at a time, so I'm somewhat familiar with that. I will just make a comment, and I understand that this is different from the drainage district, but I do think this is, I mean, it's just a continued disappointment that this community wants to continue to like develop. I understand this person bought this property, you all approved it 10+ years ago, but it is essentially destroying like a huge, portion of undeveloped, really wonderful ecosystem that is there right now. So I also think it's going to ultimately drive down the, prices of houses on the roads nearby. I think there's going to be increased traffic. I mean, to me, it's a disaster enough to make me want to sell my house and leave.
anyone else have any comments? Any board member have any comments? Come on back up.
Okay, I have one more comment or a couple more comments, adding to what Tamara has already been saying. This is a great piece of recreational nature. It is bouldering, rock climbing paradise. It's a paradise for nature walks to the ice pond and the ecosystem. Ultimately, this is part of a huge ecosystem that through the ice pond also feeds into the Great Swamp. My suggestion is, given all the bouldering tourism we already have in that area, let's think about alternatively formalizing this as kind of an eco recreational spot rather than residential development, and keep our nature. Not to mention, we have a lot of bear sightings recently in our residential areas. Part of it is probably the reason because their natural habitats are more and more being destroyed here in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Get a motion to close the public hearing? Oh, I keep forgetting Zoom. Is anybody joining us tonight on Zoom have any comments on this application? You would unmute and state your name for the record.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Water districts, you said there's 3 of them in the town?
Drainage
Excuse me.
districts.
Yes, the drainage district. Where would another one be? Off the
Deerwood
top.
subdivision, Apple Hill,
Okay.
Astro subdivision. Yeah, Dorset Hollow. Dorset Hollow, yeah.
And there've never been any issues with the water, the wells or anything?
No.
yet? And the residents of that district could expect that bill to be in their tax bill,
Correct.
not separately?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Just a comment. I think philosophically, a lot of us agree with the sentiments of what you've expressed, Tamara, and to the other folks. As you can imagine, when you zone property for a use, and this has been residential property for years, you have to have an expectation that the people that own that property want to use it for what you've said that it's zoned for, no different than a commercial piece of property. When it's vacant, we all get to enjoy the beauty of that property, but at some point, projects are proposed because people want to do with that property. Be no different than when your house was built. Someone had that property zoned, and there were people before that probably lived in the area that didn't want to see the houses developed, but that happens. I know Stacy and Bob, and we share this when Burdick Farm subdivision was being proposed. I live very close to you guys, and I certainly didn't want to see that developed. What we have now that we didn't have maybe 30 years ago is we have now put value on open space and on conservation. And that's something that we didn't have as a tool available many years ago. Now people are willing to put money towards conservation easements and preserving open space. So if you think about all the properties and all the conservation easements that have occurred, Burdick Farms being one of them, that we could very easily have 75 or 50 condos or other houses up there, but because of the work of people putting value on that is a shift in what we're seeing. The owner still owns the property, but they've been, the value of the property has been shifted to value conservation. So it's very nice to say, but you have to also appreciate the logistics of people that own property that are paying taxes every year that want to achieve some use of that property. So I just, I know you understand that, but I think it bears being said. Thank you.
And if I could just add, the town of Patterson is about the only municipality in the state of New York that has a mandatory cluster provision within our subdivision code. Anywhere else, it's, kind of an option that the developer can follow, but here in Patterson, we make them set aside a certain portion of land. So. All right.
Motion close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, audit of the bills.
I'd like to make a motion to approve abstract number 9 dated May 12, 2023, in the amount of $113,646.53. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have some budget transfers.
Yes, we do. We have budget transfer request number 5. And that's to transfer is necessary to allocate funds for the highway machinery equipment account for the purchase of new small equipment. So we will be moving $2,273 from general repairs contractual expense account to highway machinery equipment and capital outlay expense account, $2,273. I'll make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 5. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. More. Budget transfer request number 6. It is necessary to allocate additional funds for the insurance contractual accounts of the sanitation and park districts due to increased costs. So we'll be moving $3,520 from sanitation contractual, $340 from parks contractual, and $500 from parks contractual expense accounts. Moving to vehicle and liability insurance contractual, $3,180. Liability insurance contractual, $340. And liability insurance contractual expense accounts, $500. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve budget transfer request number 6. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Rogan, you're up.
Okay, first item relates to use of the Veterans Memorial Park and an agreement with the Patterson Pirates for use of the ball field. Earlier on this spring, we had a great meeting with our chairwoman of the Veterans Park Advisory Board, wherein we discussed a potential use of part of the park for the old baseball field. The baseball field hadn't been utilized in a number of years because there was a lack of interest. The Patterson Pirates showed some interest in revitalizing that field, and the town board approved some money being spent to do the work to bring it back up to a usable format. Further discussion ensued about who would maintain this, because it does take a lot of maintenance to keep these ball fields up to snuff. And we came up with an idea for an agreement with the Patterson Pirates to utilize that field while also simultaneously being able to keep the soccer use of the field with some sharing of dates and times. So we have an agreement in concept with the Patterson Pirates, and we need to approve and memorialize that agreement for this year, for the use of this year. And typically the use for the field would be $150 per month. That's what the Soccer Association pays. So this agreement, the way we've considered it, is kind of a in-kind compensation to the town, with time spent by members of the Patterson Pirates Baseball Association to maintain the field at an applicable rate. So it takes into account the number of hours per month that would be needed to maintain the use of the equipment that they would utilize. And any materials that would need to be ordered, like additional clay, would be offset per that agreement. So I'll make a motion and then ask if there's any discussion for the approval of the maintenance and reimbursement agreement as submitted by the chair of the Veterans Park Advisory Board, dated, this is actually dated May, well, the email's, yeah, May 8th, 2023. So
I'll second for discussion.
Yeah, just want to make clear that it's just for this year,
correct. Just for this calendar year.
2023.
We'll see how it works and then we can adjust accordingly.
Then I think we have to have this as a discussion item during the upcoming budget process.
I think, so the direction from the board at the last time is we were going to kick this back to the Park Advisory Board for recommendations on an overall policy for both the soccer and multi-use fields. Because there's been other issues this year, if you recall, with other soccer clubs that wanted to come in.
Okay.
So don't know they're gonna get it back to us by budget time, which is just a month away.
I'm sure that the Veterans Park Committee can do it.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye. Next item we have relates to purchase and installation of a weed barrier for Warren Beach over in Putnam Lake. This is for the purchase and installation of benthic barrier mats, but essentially it's weed block that they put on the bottom of the lake. And it blocks sunlight and slows down and prevents some of the weed growth, which they are challenged with every year at those beaches. And so we had approved a while ago. I think we actually back last year originally, but then it never followed through. It never got completed, but essentially we're looking to re-up that approval with a company called C&D Underwater, which is out of New Milford, Connecticut, for 18 benthic barrier mats.
So last year we approved purchase of the mats. This year we're approving
The
$7,200 for the installation.
installation, okay. So I will make a motion that we approve C&D Underwater for the installation of those mats for an amount of $7,200. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, first on my agenda has to do with block parties. The town has been approached by an individual or couple that would like to have a block party and close off a town road to do so. Unfortunately, the town right now does not have any mechanism for that to occur. So we're working on trying to create a mechanism. So if somebody wanted to close a portion of the road and the town board found it appropriate, we could do so. And I put together a whole list of what I believe are issues that we would need to address within a policy. Provided it to the individual who's looking to do this as well as the town board. And I've got comments, the board now has all the comments back from the individual who took a look at this. And so before I start drafting this into a policy and potentially a permit application form, I wanted to get feedback from the board on if you had any comments and concerns and or any comments and concerns about the responses that were provided on this.
The request, the current request, is it, what's the date?
Saturday, August 12th.
Oh, okay, so we have some time for you to do that.
Time is fleeting.
Okay.
Rich, I think the main concerns that we all discussed was site safety, making sure that there, if there was an issue, emergency services would be able to still protect our community. Enough advance notice to those agencies, and just that we can make sure that people are protected. And I think that the format of this does that. Some of the issues that you brought up, I think could be considered just good community common sense type things, but they're worth stating, right? Regulate common sense, but I didn't see anything on here that I thought was alarming.
So,
Or,
well, let me throw one thing out to you. So one of the things I put in here is the application needs to include the acknowledgement and consent of all property owners within the road closure area. I think if you're gonna close somebody's access or restrict their access in and out of their property, you know, they need to be on board with the fact that you're doing that and recognize that there may be some restrictions about getting out. The individual who's proposing this is indicated that other permits only require 75% of the consent. So,
but it's tough. You get one neighbor that's a stick in the mud on something like this and you can kill a whole event.
yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's
so how do
true,
you-
but at the same time, you know, I need to get in and out of my property, or, you know, maybe I've got, you know, somebody in my family that's challenged and I don't know that
Yeah.
I'm, you know, not gonna need to rush out. And you're gonna block my access.
That's a good point.
So I think at a minimum, there's got to be notice to all the property owners. So maybe adding something about, you know, because for example, let's say someone, it's not that they don't want you to have a block party, they're just out of the country, right? And you can't get their consent, but some kind of indication of what the notice was or how you attempted to give them notice. You know, for those situations where someone might just not be around, you know.
So if we're gonna just provide notice, then do we want to throw in a public hearing requirement?
That could be similar to like our public assembly permits, which I think do a good job of taking in neighbors' concerns.
You know, one of the other issues is what is going to be the responsibility of the town versus what is going to be the responsibility of the applicant. As far as, you know, blocking off the road, providing barriers, we could put it all back on the applicant if you'd like, or we can, you know, make sure that the town does it that way. We know it's absolutely going to be done right. And then we have the issue of, you know, cleaning up, and do we want to take any cash bond to make sure that everything gets cleaned up, so that if that's not the case, then.
I don't think that part's necessary. I think
Cleanup?
people, if they want a party, they know to clean up afterwards. It's just like you do it in your backyard. I'm sure that any block party, there would be a designated, you know, cleanup crew, setup crew, cleanup crew, that type of thing. So that's just-
And if there isn't, and they don't,
I would say the applicant should be responsible the same way that they rent the rec center, they're responsible for cleaning up.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't, there's,
we take a deposit and then we
Yeah.
determine the
So it's the
deposit.
cash bond.
Right,
It's a-
yeah,
it's
so-
a concept, yeah, I agree.
I would think that you would do that. It makes the applicant responsible for making sure that that's done. Are we in the position to, you know, lend them?
Like
know,
a
those-
couple of
like the-
barriers or
those-
something, some traffic cones.
I
Yeah.
think we probably could do that.
Yeah, and that would, you know, go along with the permit. Also, I see that you have that the road can't be,
Are we gonna give them
no
large
grooves,
trash bags?
sound equipment, other large objects will not be placed in the road. I don't think I'm going to give them trash bags.
No. I hope he was kidding.
And
Where do you
you
think the
probably have
trash
some
is?
left from cleanup.
So,
right?
yeah, trash is gonna end up at, you know, at the curbside anyway. We're gonna be
Yeah.
picking it up.
Yeah. So, and they should be responsible for making sure that no one blocks the road in the event that an emergency vehicle has to get through. So, you know, the responsibility all lies on the applicant.
All right, anything else anybody wants to add on this?
So the person holding this block party would be responsible for advising police, fire, and emergency services?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, I'm sure as everybody is aware, it's Memorial Day this weekend. I hope you all have a wonderful Memorial Day. Just a couple of quick announcements on the events coming up. As everybody pretty much now is aware that at 11 o'clock over at the intersection of Haviland Drive and Fairfield Drive in the Putnam Lake area. 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
The VFW has a ceremony. It's a very nice ceremony. And then on this side of town at between 12:30 and 1 o'clock, we are all going to be gathering. Most of the people are going to be gathering here at Patterson Town Hall to parade down Route 311 to the memorial at the intersection of Maple Avenue, where we will have a brief ceremony down there as well. I usually attend both ceremonies, and every year it's a wonderful time. So I encourage everybody to get out and, remember the people who have given their lives, served our country.
Did we know if we have, last year we reached out to the all team, the Pirates and the Boy Scouts. Are they coming this year?
I believe the Pirates are coming this year. Girl Scouts, 2 different groups of Girl Scouts are coming this year. Yes, we've reached out to them. I've reached out to the Boy Scouts, but haven't got any response. No.
And last year we had a couple, I think. Yeah.
So,
That's nice.
all right. Last thing I have for the moment is just to keep all the board apprised of things that are going on. The EPA has adopted new rules and regulations concerning lead and copper for transient non-community water supplies and community water supplies. They're going to significantly impact the town. We're looking at areas such as the Alpine Water District, Dorset Hollow Water District, Fox Run Water District. And what the EPA is doing is they are mandating that the owners, operators, in this case, the town, create a database which identifies all the connections between the water main and the shut-off box, and then from the shut-off box going into the house, identify what exactly the material is that's, the service lines are made out of. Put that all in a database and make that database available to the public. And if there are any lead lines, they have to be replaced, changed out. If there are any galvanized lines that are downstream from lead lines, that all has to get changed out as well. So it's a very costly project, and the database has to be finished up by October of next year. So we've already started working on it. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to play out, because of course, when you're talking about places like Alpine Acres that were constructed back in the early 70s, the documentation about what the water lines is limited. So we are currently pulling together all the information we can, but it may be that. So the way the rule is written, technically, we're going to have to dig up every water line in Alpine and then examine it. And if we dig, so we can go into the house and we can see the water line coming in, if we can go to the shut-off box and we can see the water line there. And if they're 2 different materials, we're digging the line up. If they're the same material, then, then the assumption is that, we won't have to dig it up. And again, the way the rule is structured, we have to dig up every water line to ascertain what it's actually made out of. There is the ability to work with our local health departments, perhaps to come up with a plan if we, if we have some idea that the houses were all built by the same builder at the same time. We can assume that they were basically using the same material. We go out, we dig up, 5 water lines, they were all the same material, then we assume that all the rest are gonna be the same. But the local health department is wrestling with this as much as we are, and we haven't gotten that guidance yet about what's gonna be allowed and what's not gonna be allowed, so. We've got preliminary estimates, what it's gonna cost us just to check the water lines. If we're gonna hydro back the water lines, which is the safest way to do it, so that, if we're digging them up with an excavator, we may hit the water line and break it. Hydrovacing, it's gonna be safe, but we're talking about $1,000 a home. Just to start. Just so you're all aware of what's going on.
Statewide.
Countrywide,
Federal.
yeah. Mary,
Okay, we have some rec requests from Mr. Matt Chavarro. He'd like to hire new recreation assistants at the pay rate of $11 per hour. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Alexia Mitchell, Julia Paddock, and Alyssa Romero at $11 per hour per the 2023 budget. So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Just like also to add that this is pending, all paperwork is submitted to Sue Brown for processing. The second item is Matt would like to add on some additional summer day camps. So I'd like to make a motion to approve a Lego camp for the summer. The Lego camp will run from July 5th through 7th, ages 7 through 12 at $108 per participant. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Also, I'd like to make a motion to approve a DD Max's Magic and Illusion Summer Camp. This is a magic camp, something new that Matt is offering. That will also run from July 5th through 7th, and this will be ages 8 through 12 at $165 per participant. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, we have a RFP for 30 VIP soccer shirts with a logo on the front. The low bidder came in at Extreme Signs and Apparel in the amount of $303.90. I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of these shirts in the amount not to exceed $303.90. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi. We have a request, some staffing requests from Mr. Batchabaro. I'd like to table this and request an executive session regarding this.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. We have a senior trip request for the Putnam Lake seniors. The date of the trip will be August 10th, 2023. The transportation provider will be JTR. The total expenses net to the budget will be $4,900. They will be going to Ivory Ton Playhouse and have lunch at the Blue Hound Tap Room. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the total expense, $4,900 for the senior trip on 8/10/23. So moved.
That cost of the budget.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes. I'll make a motion to approve $2,150. That's a better deal. For the senior trip, 8/10/23. So moved. Thank you.
All in favor?
So, on Mr. D'Andriano's behalf, I'll take the EMS permanent appointment. We have a, new hire from Robert Kearns. So I'd like to, have a resolution here, hiring a part-time EMT, Mr. Michael Crispin. So I'd like to, make a motion to approve this resolution and enter it into the record as though read. So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye,
Let me take that next one, the vehicle repair.
Yes.
Okay, so the next item from Councilman DeAndriano's portion was a necessary repair to one of our ambulances. The ambulance was brought into Stan's Auto Repair for a check engine light, and upon inspection, they found that it was in dire need of some brakes and a rear axle issue. So they did that emergency repair. Obviously, we can't be without the ambulance, and so the ambulance was repaired. Oh. I'm looking at two different things
They're
here.
two different things.
They are, I apologize. And so that work was done, just looking for the full amount, I apologize. For an amount, $1,490.15. That was rear brake pads, ABS sensor, and an axle hub seal for the ambulance. I'll make a motion, we approve that expense, so moved.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
And the other item, there was a quote for repairs to be done for replacing 4 rear exterior lenses, front and upper lower ball joints. It seems like the same work. Brake pads. I apologize for that.
Different vehicles
Different vehicles.
Hmm.
So we're running through brakes, it sounds like.
Yeah.
with what they're traveling. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're out all over the place. This is the Patterson ambulance everywhere we go. And so the low bidder on the quote for this work was from Brewster Ford for $5,435. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the work at an amount not to exceed $6,000. Brewster Ford for the ambulance. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, I was looking for the ambulance number and it's
Yeah.
probably, you guys probably know it off the top of your head, but it's no, it's so 3671 was the ambulance done by Stans. This one is 36.7. $36.72.
good.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next, we have an invoice to approve for additional military tribute banners that we've seen around town. Have been put up thanks to supervisor and our superintendent of highways, who promised that they would be up before Memorial Day, and they're up, and they look great. And we've had 15 additional banners put up from last year. And it's just wonderful how people are recognizing their friends and family members who served this country. So we have a invoice here for $969. And this is for the additional brackets and bases and rings and everything that's needed to get these banners up on the poles. So I'll make a motion that the town board approve the invoice. Let me see, what's this company? Military Tribute Banners, Cape Coral, Florida, in the amount of $969. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, we have a letter of resignation from our secretary to the Patterson Veterans Memorial Park Advisory Board. And from Lois Moss, who's been on 22 years is doing the secretary work. And we thank her for her service. Wish her well. And I'll make a motion that the town board accept Lois's letter of resignation. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Other business. We're gonna start off with a humble apology to everybody. The ceremony over in Putnam Lake, I was just reminded, is at 10 o'clock.
Ah,
It is not at 11 o'clock.
where did we hear that?
Yes, okay. It's on camera, so everybody has it now.
10.
We did not.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. What? They can wait. All right, the next thing I'd like to address is I understand that there's been a little bit of chatter on Facebook. I'm really checked into it. I'm not that much of a Facebook individual about the Patterson Inn, the proposed 119 room hotel on Route 311. And I would just like to take this opportunity to set the record straight. In December of 2021, the town received an application for a concept review of a proposed hotel on Route 311. They actually received an application to the planning board January of 2022 for a site plan. The planning board reviewed that application, saw that it didn't meet certain zoning requirements, referred it over to the zoning board of appeals. That happened in February of 2022. In March of 2022, the ZBA opened a public hearing on the area variance application that was submitted. On May of 2022, both the town board, all three, town board, the zoning board, and the planning board, all did a joint site walk and a balloon test on the site. May of 2022, the ZBA continued the public hearing. In November of 2022, the planning board, who was working on the environmental review of the project during this time, actually issued a negative seeker determination. And then 2 weeks later, the ZBA closed the public hearing, which was open for about 6 months, on the area variance and granted the area variance that was requested. The project still has a ways to go. It is not dead. They still have another public hearing before the planning board before they will get an approval and be allowed to start construction in the town of Patterson. Currently, as I understand it, they are working with the other agencies that they need to work with to get their wastewater treatment plant approved, their water treatment plant, and their access to the site with New York State DOT. And they need to do that before they can go back to the planning board. But once they get those three things accomplished, they will be returning to the planning board to seek approval. So contrary to some of the suggestions, the project is not dead. They are still moving forward. I am supporting the project. I think it is a great project for the town of Patterson. I realize that some people have some concerns, especially with some of the issues that local counties are facing from New York City. County Executive Byrne, I think, did a great job in adopting an executive order this week, hopefully addressing some of those issues. And I am hopeful that by the time that the hotel is ready for occupancy, which will not probably be for a couple of years, that these issues will be long behind us. And that is the status of the hotel. Right. The next thing that I would like to address is that Councilman Rogan and I this past Sunday attended the Putnam County EMS Council EMS Awards brunch, where the town of Patterson won Agency of the Year. So big shout out to our EMS administrator, Bobby Kearns, for the wonderful job that he's done running this organization, and he's, getting this recognition, which is very, very well deserved. And I also would like to add an executive session personnel to the agenda.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any other board member have any other business they wish to bring up at this time? Public recognition. We'll open it up to the public that is sitting here with us tonight. If any member of the public wishes to address the board on any issue or any question, you would please approach the mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Supervisor Williams and distinguished members of the Patterson Town Board. My name is Christopher Lowry. I reside at 20 Mountain View Road. A few things I just really wanted to say. I'm not going to eloquently be able to say this as well as you all do. I want to thank Margot and Mr. Goff at the Highway Department. Neighbor and myself had a standing dead ash on our property. I made a call and it happened so spontaneously. It was handled very well. The cleanup was fantastic. So I just want to thank and actually have her recognized and the Highway Department gentleman and Mr. Goff as well on that. Thank you. I don't know if Mr. Rogan had gotten his due with the boardwalk, his efforts there, the volunteers, and also the craftsmanship with the dedication kiosk for Mr. Saracelli. I just, wanted to personally make sure he had gotten, his recognition for it. I think the dedication and just the ability to try and rile up all the people that were involved in it, because it's not an easy task. I try to rile up children every single day, and that's difficult too. So I just wanted to make sure that at least that was noted. You're welcome. And I just wanted to say, I want to thank everyone, regardless of the political climate that ensues in November, and whatever transpires after that. I just want to thank everyone. I want to thank the board for allowing me to sit in the audience and see how the dynamic works. I admire it. And I also like listening to the political discourse in some ways and see how you all bounce off each other very well. And it's nice. It's nice to see. I not to digress, I deal with children all day that aren't able to get along. So when I see adults that are able to get along and things get done, and sometimes, decisions are made that we may not all like, but I believe they're for the betterment of our town. And I appreciate that. And I thank you all.
Thank you.
So
Thank
thank you,
you.
Chris. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will open it up to our audience joining us by Zoom. If there's anybody that has any questions or comments, if you would unmute, state your name and address for the record. All right, hearing no comments, so I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.